thank you for supporting Trunk Tales. Get subscribed on X, YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, your mom's OnlyFans account, wherever you find us, anywhere. We're everywhere. We're omnipresent. Thank you for our special guest for coming on, Mark Sibley. Make sure you check out his books. Links down in the description. Sorry, obviously no book 3, but check it out. Go get subscribed, leave a comment. We have a really good guest slate coming up. We're recording with Adam Johnson, the lectern guy, this weekend. The following weekend is Black Baker. Those will come out over the next 2 Fridays. Thank you guys again for watching, and let's get to the episode. Okay. Well, we're already
Jesus
recording.
Christ, bro. It took longer than your last fucking book.
That's staying in. Welcome, everyone, to the Trunk Tales. I'm Andrew, joined with my co-host, Grimzy, and today we have Mark Sibley, Mark Buttons Sibley, on here to talk books and war games and how we've spent 2 weekends and 4 hours troubleshooting tech shit just to go back in time.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Good. Thanks for coming on. I know that the temperature in your room right now is a little bit warm. So
right. Well, I do have a Boston Terrier sleeping next to me, so she's very comfortable. But
Mark looks like he's fucking reporting live from a basement somewhere where he's writing his latest book that's taken him 6.5 years.
You know what? If I was in my basement, the Wi-Fi wouldn't reach down there, so you wouldn't see me. But 2, I have 2 whole stone walls that I record in front of with lights and whatnot.
Nice. What do you mean?
It's like a bunker.
Is your basement a fucking well? What do you mean that Wi-Fi wouldn't reach down there?
Well, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But for our purposes, the Wi-Fi would be too weak. It's kind of all stone walls and stuff, and did that a long time ago. And then we never went down there. The only one that goes down there is my youngest kid, because that's where all the ergs and bikes are, in front of the TV and the PS5. So I go down there sometimes to erg now because it's down there, and I should because I'm fat. So,
And we all.
Yeah.
And we all.
So
I am down 20 pounds though, so that's cool.
Congratulations.
Thanks. Quit drinking, man. That stuff comes off right away.
So actually, Grimzy, when we talked with Nick Irving, that was well over a month ago already when we recorded that episode. I said that I was going to stop drinking, and I was like, I was definitely stopping drinking most of the time, but I wasn't going to stop drinking like going.
We peer pressured him into it.
Yeah. So the following week, I had a VA appointment, and with my new provider. Haven't ever met this woman before, and she was a complete asshole to me. But she was like, I think you might have fatty liver disease. If you're drinking, let's rule out the drinking portion first. So I stopped drinking, stopped eating bacon, stopped eating red meat and pork and everything for about a little over the last month. And it lined up like perfectly. And I was like, I already told these guys I was going to stop drinking. So I guess I'm going to stop drinking.
Right.
And I've dropped 15 pounds, but I've been back in the gym too. So both things played a factor.
That'll do it.
Yep.
Yeah, you got to do it. And my wife and I, we just started walking maybe once or twice midday. I walk midday because she's at work, but then later at night, walking around our neighborhood here, kind of doing recon all the time, but we got a lot of nice paths and stuff. But we take Phoebe because she has a lot of energy that she needs to express to the world.
Yep.
But it's like 2 miles. It's a 2-mile circuit, and we can go 20 different ways. And man, that's the best thing. Like what you put in your face hole, and then actually getting some exercise, dude.
The youngest plays Pop Warner football, and the park where they practice at's Kiwanis Park, and it's massive. It's huge, and they just opened a whole brand new section last week or the week before that has basketball courts, outdoor basketball courts. They put tennis courts and all that stuff out there. But there's a 3-mile loop trail, and for the first couple weeks of practice, the oldest and I would walk and then started jogging the trail. And this is going back into like late June, early July. So it's been not like being active out here is so much easier than it was where we used to live. But it's still hot as fuck. And Grimzy, you'll know this once you move to Florida.
I'm not excited about that.
There are some times when you're like, dude, I'm going to do the treadmill inside because I'm going to sweat, but I'm going to sweat and be like in the air conditioning.
Yeah, I'm not excited about that. And that's actually, I'm in the process right the fuck now. I leave Thursday.
It's gonna be a nice long drive.
Fuck
Wow.
you ain't gotta. There's no reason for that. There's no reason for that. I already know, Drew. There's no reason to remind me of that. Just see, this is.
And once you get to Florida, it's another long drive to wherever you're going to go.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Yeah. All right.
So,
when's that book coming out, motherfucker?
Yeah.
Hey, man. It's
soonish. Oh yeah. Soonish. Yeah.
There's some other surprises first. Let me tell you that.
Oh. Is this some of the other authors that are working on some of the work? Nice.
Yeah. I've seen covers and I've seen book trailers.
Nice. Is this gonna ever turn into like a TV or movie series of any kind?
Absolutely. I'm on the phone with Krasinski all the time and his production company. No, I have no idea.
You had me. I was sold there for a second. I thought you were being serious.
No, I ping him every once in a while and some others on Twitter. They never respond. Well,
a lot of those big accounts.
You know what? Actually, me and my girl we're in the process of actually working on a book that I'm going to be sending over to Sibley to review for me.
Yeah,
I'm pretty excited about that one.
I am too. I want to see it. There's, you know what? It's funny because when I wrote the first one back in from 2017 to 2019, I was in this, before I got into this corner of Twitter, I was kind of in the writing community corner of Twitter. And let me tell you, some of those people are really cool, but some of them really aren't. And it's like, it's like 20,000 authors all trying to hawk their books to other authors that are trying to hawk their books. And so nobody gets any sales, but everybody gives you a thumbs up, but
you just subscribe to LinkedIn.
Oh my God. It's horrible. Actually, I do pretty good on LinkedIn. So I get some support there.
Every time I open LinkedIn, I just have like a dozen messages from people trying to sell me literally everything, but mostly it's trying to sell me what my company does. I'm like, oh,
yeah,
you're my competitor. And
I'm not a frequent flyer on LinkedIn. I thought LinkedIn was like a fucking, like that's where people go to find you for jobs and shit.
It's professional. Yeah.
So what, you sell shit on there too?
Oh yeah. I mean, you can put your, like I have my LinkedIn stuff, but it's all kind of OPSEC'd out. Because I have written books, and I'm out there, so I don't want the two ever to intersperse, and I don't normally talk about my day job specifically on Twitter and vice versa. So, but I have put my books and the book trailers with a little synopsis on Twitter or on LinkedIn, and it's not bad. I mean, I don't dissuade people from knowing both sides of my world. Or both worlds of Mark Sibley, but I'd rather not have the universe or people going into my LinkedIn and going, oh, he works here and here and here and here, right? So I just OPSEC'd all that out for the last 10 years.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so explain to the people what War Games is exactly.
War Games. So like how the military does practices and they get everybody together and they go to a place and they practice doing the war thing.
Yep.
So that's a war game. And in the corporate world, they're usually called tabletop exercises. But I call them war games, exercises, whatever. But I do a lot of those. And I started that kind of after 9/11. So I was a Booz Allen on the client side, and a lot of their partners on 9/11 were at the Waldorf Astoria in New York and watched it happen. And then they came back and said, hey, what if that had been the Waldorf Astoria? And all the partners were dead, right? So so they stood up this small team from the client side. I was one of them that became the business assurance office, still exists today, I think. My boss was a former Green Beret, one of the first guys in Afghanistan. So he came back, and I got to learn how to do crisis management and risk management and all that kind of stuff from him, and actually learned how to plan. And this guy was a comm sergeant and intelligence sergeant, and his method of, and I love him to death, his method of managing was to just stare at you across the desk and let you talk until you talked yourself into the activities he wanted you to do. And then he was like, okay, good, we're done. Because he'd just stare at you, not say a word. Yeah. So, but I learned how to do all that from him, and then eventually went to a very large defense contractor. And then from there went to VeriSign, which at the time I got there was running both .com and .net for the world, and the little check mark at the bottom of everybody's, certification authority. They sold that 6 months after I got there. So all they ever did while I was there really was DDoS mitigation protection and running .com and .net, .gov, .edu, and the root center above it for the world. And so I became the emergency manager for everything VeriSign, a small company, about 1,200 people, with points of presence around the world. But I was the coordination point for all the major incidents. So I watched some of the biggest, largest DDoS attacks in the world go by at 3 a.m. in the morning with 2 dogs on my lap, one phone to my ear, listening to the bridge that was set up, and the other looking at the hip chat thing going by, and waiting for them to say Sev 1 so I could drop that call and go and wake up the executives, right? Because that was my job. And then do sit reps. That's my other nickname in the corporate world, is sit rep, because I send emails.
We can definitely get into the weeds here, because this is my world. I mean, not to the extent that it was yours in the past, but that's what I do professionally, is I own web development, hosting, and marketing agency.
Nice. Nice.
And yeah, like everything you're saying, it's funny to see how that landscape has changed over time. Like you don't ever really hear anybody say that they're afraid of a DDoS attack anymore. Like major corporations maybe, but not like the generic.
Okay, real quick. Y'all gotta understand that there might be some people that watch this that don't know what the fuck is going on. Okay. Let's slow it down. Okay. Let's give people the brass tacks of what the fuck is going on. Because you two motherfuckers, man, you get in this mode where you start using terminology that nobody knows what the fuck is going on. And I see it. I see what's going on here. Okay.
Imagine Kron gets a hold of your toaster, right?
Yes.
And your wife's drawer of toys. They're all internet connected, right? Plus every other device. And then he uses them to hit or to send traffic to a specific domain or website. And this is with thousands, millions of devices,
right,
that are insecure, unsecure, whatever you want to call it, across the world. And he floods your website or your business or your server, your network, with hits and requests over and over and over again. It's a distributed denial of service attack. So that's the kind of stuff that used to be a huge issue back in the day. But
so okay, to put it in some simpler terms for people, if you've ever been playing like a video game, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Where you're online somewhere and all of a sudden everything just stutters and you can do nothing. There's nothing you can fucking do. That's because they're sending the invites. There's millions of fucking invites being sent to that server, to the point where it completely crashes on itself.
It's DDoS, right? Maybe by accident, maybe by enthusiasm. A lot of DDoS, most of them are nefarious.
Yeah, so a lot of that shit is definitely on purpose.
Right.
We got to think of it as most of the time being on purpose.
Right.
So, Mark, you were involved in monitoring these big ass DDoS attacks that were happening.
So I was connected and facilitated and managed several teams, and I do that everywhere I go. There's a corporate incident management team, and there's an incident response team, which is the pointy tip of the spear that gets notified first. And I usually manage those and I exercise those teams so that we're all moving in the same direction with the same goals.
Okay.
And we know how to communicate.
Okay.
We have tools to let us communicate quickly.
Okay. So you're running the teams that are handling these types of DDoS.
Right.
attacks,
I'm not
right?
the smart guy. I tell people if
Right.
Sibley's touching gear, I mean, we just realized this for the last 2 weekends. If Sibley's touching gear, you have a problem. I coordinate all
Don't let
this
Sibley touch nothing.
and I bring it all in and I put it in an
Okay.
email and I track problems.
So now, okay, before we get into everything else, can you just walk people through what a process looks like from the moment a big DDoS attack starts till the resolution of getting it fixed?
Yeah. So DDoS is not as big of a deal these days. Ransomware is. Ransomware is much bigger, and that's a business, baby.
Looks like he might have dropped off. Are you familiar with what he's talking about, Grimzy? Oh, there you go. He's back.
With
Okay.
ransomware.
Ransomware. I threw
okay.
another. Sorry, I threw another term
let's-
in there. So Grimzy's about to have a conniption.
Yeah, see, because I'm familiar with DDoS, so I wanted to get people kind of who don't know what it is to understand. Ransomware is new for me.
Okay, let me go with DDoS. So you're sitting at your desk, you're doing.
Well, no.
work.
Let's talk about what ransomware is, because now
Okay.
you got me now. Now I'm like, what the fuck? I hear ransom. Let's get it.
So nefarious actors, nation states or others that either usually it's for money, it's for Bitcoin, right? And they will build or use ransomware as a service providers that are also nefarious, that have ways to get into your network, your corporate network or your government network, right? And then they will sit there for a while and they will move laterally around your network, and they will put certain things like Minox chewing on the power cables, right? In Star Wars, right? They are there and you don't see them yet because you don't know they exist yet because they haven't ever done this with this specific vulnerability before or whatever, or malware. And then at one point they hit send and all of those systems that they're touching automatically get encrypted. And only they can de-encrypt it for you. In the meantime, before they do that, they've taken all the data from those systems and they've put it in a secure box over here that only they can get to.
So this is why cybersecurity is still such a prominent business, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because now,
Oh, yeah.
like, I don't think people understand with like cybersecurity. Cybersecurity isn't just a one-time thing, because motherfuckers are creating new ways to fuck
Every day.
businesses every
know.
single day.
Every
So
day.
basically, it puts, to simple it up, it puts a virus through your system
Yep.
that initially goes and finds every single bit of
Whatever they want.
prominent information, or fucking whether that be client shit, whether that be
Right.
internal system shit, and they go and they leave it dormant until it spreads through everything in your system,
They're a recon team right now. They're just looking.
and they hit a button and it locks everything up.
Locks everything up. And then people that are looking at those systems get this screen that says, your shit's been encrypted. If you don't pay us this much Bitcoin by this day, we're going to take all that data and we're going to put it on Reddit, or we're going to put it on this dark web, or we're going to put it wherever, right? Where people can see it. And by the way,
Okay.
if you don't believe us, here's a little piece of the information that we just stole from you. And we can verify that. So
it's literally just, it's a play on words. It's literally malware that they're using for ransom.
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's like kidnapping an executive, right? In South America and saying, hey, we got your guy. Here's proof of life. Right.
And so, and that's the craziest part of what the fuck is going on now, right? It's like, people don't need to kidnap people anymore to get money. All they got to do is take your entire fucking system. Because honestly, okay, let's think about it, right? If they take your system over, you don't pay them, and they fucking spread everything you have, your credibility as a company is fucked.
Yep.
It depends, right? So,
Well, I mean, what you got to look at it like this. Now, I get it from like a legal aspect, but just from a consumer aspect, it's like,
Right.
well, fuck, I can't use them no more because obviously my information ain't safe. So I guess for a consumer, from a consumer standpoint, I feel like it's a murderer of companies.
Right, but listen to this thing, right? There's so many big companies and whatever that have been hit with ransomware. Are any of them out of business?
No, look at Equifax.
No.
Yeah,
they're not. It's about reputation and brand. It's about the response. This is what I tell companies that I work for. Like, if you go out there and you get ransomware and you handle it horribly, right? You're going to take a big hit. And what the news is going to talk about for about a day is how badly you handled it. And oh man, that's a stupid company. And then something else in the news will happen and off it goes. And
so it comes from like transparency, letting people know what the fuck is going on.
There is a way to do it.
Keep it okay. All right.
There is a way to do it. And that's part of what I do is I bring not just the IT guys together. I bring comms, legal, marketing, executives, people that need to make certain decisions. I bring them together as well so that they can start doing their jobs. So customers will start pouring in and saying, hey, you got ransomware. Tell me where you are with this because we're your customer, right? And it's not like I'm emailing Bezos because I bought something on Amazon. Right. This is a $500 million a year customer or whatever. Imagine all the companies in the world doing business with each other. And they need to have talking points, and they need to be able to go out and say to the customers at large, to social media, whatever. They also have regulators. And there are regulations in place that if you get hit with certain things, you must, within a certain time frame, notify your regulators, your SEC, the FBI, whatever, right? And get that going, right? And then you have what's called Cyber 911, right? Which if you get hit and your team can't manage it, then you break the glass and you call a Mandiant or a FireEye or any one of these, CrowdStrike, to come in and say, we are going to be your FBI forensics team on this, right? Because we add another level of respectability or confidence or whatever it is, and we'll give you a report to say this is how it all worked out.
Shit, I'm wearing the wrong shirt. But if you want a really nice shirt, if you want some great American-made apparel, check out our friends American Lictor at AmericanLictor.com. Links down there in the description. Check it out. You'll love them. Everything American made. I mean, we're talking like their equipment that they use, their sourcing for materials, the inks, everything American made. These guys do not fuck around. Check them out in the description.
Right.
That shit right there. That, first of all, can we just talk about how gangster all this shit sounds? Like, nerdy shit is gangster. Can we just talk about it?
Yep.
Can we wait a minute?
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Can we just talk about it? Nerdy shit is gangster real quick. You got a team, right? You got a team of fucking people that come in and try to handle a situation. And if not, you break. I know you might have some young viewers in here that don't get the whole break the glass thing. Just break the glass and you hit the fucking, the right? It's sounding the fucking alarm. Okay.
Right.
And you get an entire cyber FBI team. And in my mind, I just see stormtroopers walking in the fucking room. Right?
Yeah.
So, okay, cool. All right. Now, so let's do it with shit that's happening recently, because you said DDoS shit doesn't really happen as often. Okay, so
no, DDoS happens all the time, but it's not a big deal anymore because everybody's protected and it's hard to keep it up.
So let's do this. Let's say me and Drew have a company and we just got hit with a big ass fucking ransomware attack. What happens from the start to when it's resolved?
So some people are
a proper company that's obeying the laws and regulations.
Right. Legally. Right. Let's do it like that.
So you guys are about to get some emails, right? And these emails are going to say, we have your shit. And this is how much Bitcoin we want in this amount of time, or we're going to put your shit all over the place. So you have a decision to make. But the first thing you do is you gather up all your people, your cyber people, your IT people, comms, legal, all the business leaders in your business units, and you bring them all together, right? And you got the tactical team that's running down the forensics and making sure we know what they have, and then we're segregating that stuff, right? So that nobody else can get into it and they can't get out of it. So we know what they have. And then the other side of it with you guys is kind of saying, okay, now that we know what they have, how much is that going to cost us in telling our customers, hey, your data was compromised, and it may have had your home address in it, or maybe your social, or this or that, or whatever. So we're going to give you a year of free credit monitoring or free whatever monitoring. And if that cost is lower than the cost of the ransomware itself, you're probably going to say, I'm going to say, screw you to the ransomware people, put my data wherever you want. Here, I'm giving all my customers this free credit monitoring for a year. And we're good to go. We never get our data back. We never get our systems unencrypted, but we rebuild them right next to them, right? Because we have backups, and hopefully those backups are secure in a vault, right? Which is what they're supposed to be.
Yep.
Okay.
And then just sidebar real quick. Are y'all then able, at least the tech guys, are they then able to take that ransomware and figure out how to not have that specific one? Because I know it's specific. So
it is.
Okay, but
it's what's called indicators of compromise, or IOCs. That's how you know. It's like a footprint. It's their method of operation. And then there's TTPs, tactics, techniques, and procedures, right? That's how they get in. Okay. So TTPs are how they break the door, and it's a special kind of way they do it, so you know it's them. And then once they're in, indicators of compromise, what they've touched, what they've taken, right? So we can then put all those things in the monitoring system, and there's probably several of them, but I'll just call it the monitoring system. And you can put it in there, and then you can watch for those.
Okay.
Right. And all of the known exploits and vulnerabilities and ransomware groups and their IOCs and TTPs, whatever it is, method of operation, are already known. It's the ones we don't know tomorrow, right? That are probably lurking in thousands of companies right now.
Got that. Okay. So we have the first option of this is going to cost us less to just fucking say fuck it and restart. Go fuck yourself, basically. What happens when it's the other way around and fucking this is going to cost us double what the fuck they're asking for?
There is a, if you decide, and some companies do, some companies don't, it all depends. But if you decide to pay the ransomware in Bitcoin or Ether or whatever it is they're asking for, believe it or not, there is an industry out there of third-party brokers that can take your money, turn it into Bitcoin, and send it to that ransomware person instead of you sending it directly, right? So there's a whole industry around it. There are vendors, right? Corporate vendors and government vendors that can do that for you, right?
For a price.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's a fee for it, but everything's for a fee.
So
right.
These motherfuckers,
I know.
so that you got motherfuckers that are not only are you getting fucked by the ransomware dudes, right? But you got companies that are capitalizing on you getting fucked by ransomware and charging you to pay a ransom.
Right, but there's a reason we do that.
No, that I understand completely.
Right.
But from in its simplest form,
yeah,
you getting fucked in two different ways.
No,
it's crazy.
Supply and demand.
Yeah, supply and gets fucked.
I mean, if you think about it, you can take that analogy, Grimzy, and apply it to a lot of things. Like, why do we have virus protection on computers? Because what we in the IT industry like to call ID 10T errors. And if you think about it for a minute, Grimzy, are you familiar with an ID 10T error?
I feel like you're trying to give me a quip to say titties on here. What it was?
Idiot.
Okay.
IDNT.
No, I get it's like boobies on the calculator. Okay. Yeah.
So that, like, virus protection only had to exist because your kid or you or somebody opens an attachment or clicks on the wrong link or downloads a package that was compromised from a legitimate piece of software sometimes. So the reason it exists is to save you from yourself, not just from the attacker, but also save you from your own potential either ignorance or stupidity or you were too horny and downloaded the wrong porn.
Yeah, but I don't think that translates well to fucking third party ransom payers.
I mean, it also, like you said, it depends on the industry. Like I worked for a medical company when I first moved down here about a decade ago, and they had a system that was already offline for that reason. It was ransomware locked. They had taken it completely offline. I mean, it was unplugged, it was air gapped and everything, but they had stuff on there that they couldn't access. And I cannot tell you how long I spent trying to overhaul those servers and get them in the right place. And I mean, at the end of the day, they didn't want to pay. And they, I self-reported a bunch of stuff for violations. And long story short, there's a lot of lawsuits. And I think there's still stuff going on with that. But, some companies are just like, nobody knows. Why tell anybody? Right. If something slips out, just be like, no, that's fake. Or they got your information from somewhere else and they'll lie about it.
Yeah. Okay. Fair. Okay. So we get to the point where we said we're going to pay it. We go through this third party fuck ass over here. And then what happens?
So there's usually a spot on the interwebs where we can monitor where that group is putting up other companies, because they probably haven't gotten just you. They've gotten dozens, right? So they're listing those companies out there.
So they're just taking the money and dropping the fucking information anyway.
No, they're listing the companies saying, we have your stuff, but this is not your stuff. Yep. They've sent us a piece of it to proof of life. But when they pay, they take your company off the list, right? If
they're legitimately doing it and want to be respected by the next company.
Right. So this is the same as kidnap for ransom.
So there's ethical thief, there's ethical thief and fucking and unethical. So there's the guys that don't give a fuck, get the money and fucking don't give you the hostage anyway.
Yep. And they're not going to get paid again. Right? It's a business. You have to think about it. It's a business transaction to them. Yeah, they took your stuff, but hey, it's all going to be all right because you're going to pay me and then I'm going to not release your info and give you and unencrypt your data so you can use it again. And then I'm going to go away. It's a business transaction.
Okay. So, you got to think in my mind, right? I heard war games and I'm thinking like fucking, Civil War reenactors. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So this it's not something that fucking played in my head the way it's playing right now.
Right. So go ahead.
So it sounds very simple on the surface, right? You assess the damage and don't pay and tell them to release whatever the fuck you want, or it's too great of a fucking risk money-wise and you pay them and you get your shit back.
Right.
Either way it goes, you're rebuilding that system.
So if we pay them and we get the data back and then they unencrypt the system, we don't have to necessarily rebuild the system, but we're going to go comb through that system and keep it segregated for a good long time while we cleanse it, right? But we'll be able to use the system again. So
okay, and then so then if you're able to keep the system, right, you go through it with a fine-tooth comb and you make sure everything is out of that fucking system, and then that's when you create the fucking the opposite of it, right? To make sure that that specific one doesn't happen again.
Yeah, so there's all kinds of things you can do. You can rebuild the system. You can lock it down. You can plug the holes where they got in, and you can look for those same holes where they got in all around your company, right? And plug those holes. I think that this is like a whack-a-mole type thing, right? You're going to spend a lot of time working on this one, but you still have to have your team running down alerts and logs for all the other stuff that they get every single day. It's overwhelming to a lot of companies, to most companies actually, because you have all these monitoring systems that you plug all this stuff in, all these indicators and warnings that you get for all these different malwares and vulnerabilities and intelligence. And you plug those in, and the list the world you have to watch gets bigger and bigger, but your team stays the same size. Right. So it's pretty challenging to do. It's fun to do. Right. The war games part of it is when I have these teams set up, right, then I go into PowerPoint and I create a 6 or 7 slide deck, and each page is an inject. And the first inject says, at this time, this happens. And this person called into the help desk and said, I see this ransomware note on my screen. What do you do with the team I have on the phone?
Right.
And then I'm just facilitating that exercise. They're walking through it as if it's happening. And then I give them 10 minutes to talk through that. And then I switch slides and I go to the next inject. Oh, by the way, the CEO just got a ransomware note, or the CISO or whoever, right? And now we know that all these things are compromised. So I'm building kind of a story, right, for these people, and they have to work through it. Now, I don't necessarily need them to solve the problem, okay? I need them to find gaps. I need them to know, hey, these are the people that I may not have met prior to this or worked with, and these are all now people on my team. And now we're marching to the same drum with the same set of protocols and procedures. And by the way, at the end of this thing, I'm doing an after action report. And these are the 6 or 7 things that are big holes or process gaps that we need to fix. And these are the points of contact. And this is the time frame. Now, while we're doing that, I'm working on the next war game for another team or another scenario. This one could be ransomware. The next one could be, just malware or a 0-day or something like that, or a data center issue, something, right? There's tons of them out there. I've done tons. I've probably done 250 exercises in my career at all different kinds of
okay, because me, Mark, I like to just simplify shit, right? Yep. It is going through every single what if that your mind can think of.
Right.
And then making them go through almost a simulation of it. If this were to happen, this is what we need to do.
Right.
And I mean, again, I don't know if y'all watching and you kind of have the same mind as me. It sounds very technical when Mark explains it. It sounds very simple when I explain it, but I feel like it's a little bit of both, right? It's definitely a little bit of both.
It is.
In the sense that it really is super fucking technical. And what really gets me is let's say every war game that you bring up, there's 1,000 other war games that you haven't thought of yet.
Oh yeah.
That's potentially coming.
Right.
Have you ever had to develop one of these where you had to have like a lone survivor type scenario where there was one person that's always either they themselves or something that they have access to is completely segregated from everything else? Like if the executives from a company, like the majority of them fly to a foreign nation for a negotiation or something like that, and then is there some like scenario where one specifically stays back as like the key holder, a scenario like that?
So we don't necessarily run those scenarios, but it's part of the concentration risk for any company, where you can't have the whole executive leadership team or board fly on the same plane
Okay.
to a place, right? They can all go there, but you can't put them all on the same plane.
And there's somebody listening right now that's going to be like, but all the jet fuel and all of the pollution and all of the private planes.
Nobody cares. I don't care.
If you're looking for a new website, web app, or hosting, check out lemaxmedia.com. Link down in the description. We do it all. Marketing, everything. Check it out.
I care about risk.
yeah. So I want to point out to the people watching this, based on that comment that I just made, I read a study when I was in college regarding that very specific thing with private planes and stuff. And basically with time saved and the ability to be wheels up whenever you need to be or whatever, it actually equals out to they actually produce less pollution. So when people are complaining about Taylor Swift and her private plane, she actually is producing less pollution by having that than she would if she was flying commercial like the rest of us.
That's why I love Taylor Swift.
Is that why?
Fuck Taylor Swift.
That's the only reason.
Oh, baby.
Fuck Taylor. I don't give a fuck about Taylor Swift. Fuck about Taylor Swift. What the fuck? Okay. So that shit right there, I'm not gonna lie to you, man. This is what I love about doing these fucking podcast episodes. These podcast episodes have allowed me to kind of deep dive kind of into different situations and different topics that I never even fucking knew were there, right? Because you everybody knows what cybersecurity. Well, I don't think everybody knows what it actually is, right? But everybody knows the term cybersecurity.
Right. They should.
But people don't really understand the fucking thousands and thousands of subsections within cybersecurity and how many different people play a role in it, right? Like technically you're in cybersecurity.
Technically.
Right. Except you don't do anything techie.
No.
But your role is very fucking important because you're the organizer.
Yes.
You put everybody to in motion to make sure that everybody's it's essentially a manager.
It is. And this is why I like my current boss, because she was in the Army. She was a brigade commander, jumped out of airplanes. She doesn't deal with any shit, right? She's very on point.
Gangster.
She's gangster. And so when I stand up a team or run a war game or anything else, it is with a military mindset, even though I never served, right? So there is always a battle rhythm or a cadence that I try and get us into, right?
Do you get a lot of questions of people asking you if you served?
Yeah, I do, because of the books and everything else. Because
I get a lot of questions asking if I served.
Yeah,
and I don't really know what it is exactly, because I'm very forward about telling people off the rip that I've never served. I've never understood why people lie about serving, but I don't know what it is about certain people that give off, obviously because I never fucking served. I don't know what it is about certain people that gives off a have you served type of question coming. Drew, maybe you can answer that.
There's a group of people, or I guess a broad part of the population, that views the veteran community and current service members as like this. I mean, it is a tight-knit community.
Yeah.
But they believe that we don't let anyone in because you didn't serve. And sometimes that's true, because sometimes people just suck and you're like, we don't want you. Nobody wants you. Just go away. Stay out of here. But there are times when you have people that can help you get your story out there, or that helped you get through a scenario in your life and helped you, stay alive. There's a lot of reasons that the community invites a Grimzy or a Sibley or anybody else in. And because now you're communicating and always doing things with the veteran community, they're just like, oh, you must be a veteran because you're doing this. And it does.
But is it like I guess my real question is it like a how somebody talks or how somebody thinks or how somebody carries himself? Is it is it one of those things? Because I can understand like yeah, like the whole like if you invite veterans to put their story out, obviously veterans will welcome you in. But I'm more talking about like aspects of it, right? Like the way somebody talks. A lot of what I've heard is like humor, sense of somebody's sense of humor can bring somebody into like, have you served because of a sense of humor? So that's what I was kind of more asking towards. Like, is it a way somebody talks or how they carry themselves or how they express certain things?
I would say that it's a little bit of a few key factors, right? Like one of them would definitely be how easy you are to adapt and to take to heart like our lingo and how we act. And it's just like any friend group that you build, right? Like you go to the bar with a bunch of guys all the time and you talk about football specifically all the time, or you talk about this all the time, or you talk about shooting. Like once you're kind of part of that group, then you're just kind of integrated. And now it might be 10 guys from special operations and then an idiot like me who was never special operations but was in regular army, and then you guys, people just kind of are like, oh, because the other 10 people are all special forces, you guys must have all been special forces. It's just kind of that there's a term for it. It's like basically like by association, valor by association, or whatever you want to call it.
Okay. Yeah. And you know what? Don't get me wrong. Like me and Mark both I'm always very forthcoming about it's never happened. Me personally though, I like it only because I went from before getting into this kind of shit, before getting into like politics and podcasting and shit, I went from being looked at as like, hey, are you a gang member to are you a veteran? That's growth right there, baby.
Yeah.
I love that shit, man. I fucking love that shit. I'm not gonna lie to you. I love that shit. Okay, we get off on tangents so fucking much. Jesus Christ. I have ADHD and I can't stop it. All right. So war games, like I said, I really didn't have any inkling that this is what it was going to be. And I think it's important to talk about this kind of shit because a lot of people don't know anything about cybersecurity. That's what we were talking about. Fucking cybersecurity. So you run it as a manager, putting all the people in place. Right. And that's an important fucking role. So you don't need to know how to do it.
No.
You just need to know who to put in the position to do it.
I need to know who the smart people are and get them in a room so they can talk about it. And then I take over the role of communicating up and facilitating communication out so that they can go back to doing what they need to do.
So that's where planning and communication come in. Really, it's a planning communication background. Yeah. Having a way with words, knowing this is the plan that's going to lead us to succeed. These are the people that we need to put in that plan to make sure we succeed, and this is how we're going to run it.
Pretty much, and knowing how to communicate very simply and succinctly up the chain in a corporate setting, right? And the further up the chain you go, what I like to say is the bigger the animal pictures need to be, right? So with the tech team, cybersecurity, IT, we go down rabbit holes that I rub my head and go, guys, that's way too much. We need to take that offline. And then you go up further, and what they want to know is what's the risk? What do I have to do? What can I tell the customers? Are we in legal problem? What's material, right? They don't care about which router died,
right?
Or whatever. So you have to adjust that communication, and that's a skill that I have, one of the few, and I can bring people together, and I treat everybody like a human when I do this, because that's really what this is. It's teaching humans and giving them mental permission to do certain things. And what I've told executives in active shooter war games and fire drills and dumping a building of 1,000 people in less than 10 minutes. And some executives may not have wanted to leave, or some executives during an active shooter, which I've done about a dozen active shooter exercises. Some executives immediately, when I say, okay, we're in a room full of executives, this just happened and there have been gunshots. What's your first reaction? And they sometimes try to start managing their way through it. And I have to stop them and say, okay, the building's on fire or you've just heard gunshots. As an executive team, what do you think you can do right now to help the situation? This is not management. This is run, hide, fight, or evacuate. You will burn and die just like the analysts in finance, right? You're all human.
Get out of people's way, let the right people do their work.
Right, or just know what to do at a high level. And if it's an active shooter, run, hide, fight. If it's a fire, get out of the building. And then once it's all taken care of, there'll be plenty to manage, trust me. If the building has burned down or there was an active shooter, there will be plenty to manage after that. And that's where, again, I come in past roles. I come in and I manage that process and write those situation reports up and down so everybody's on the same page. And then I do an after action report and we fix things. And then we do it all over again, probably.
Do you ever, so coming from somebody like me, where a buddy of mine coined this term a long time ago, is expert enough, right?
Yeah.
Do you ever go into a room and feel like you've fallen into the valley of despair because you just don't know what you don't know? Like you don't even know the questions to ask to find the right people to bring into the room?
Not necessarily, because in the corporate world, at least at the organizations I've been at, with the exception of one probably, and it's the largest one, I always knew where to go to find somebody. And this is what I preach. If you don't know if you can't answer my question, you might know who can, or you might know who knows who can. So vector me, right? And I do the same with other people. And eventually we get everybody on the same team, right? And that team doesn't have to be 200 people. It's usually about 30 to 40. And it's IT, cyber, all these other people in corporate functions, from finance to legal to whatever. And within that group, there's always somebody that knows, or we can put our heads together and figure it out.
Right.
But we want to not have to do that in real time when the building's on fire. So we exercise. That's what war games are for. Just like the Army and the military, we don't want to send our guys into a conflict when they've never met each other before and they don't know how to interoperate with each other.
Yep.
Right. So you practice, you war game, do that shit every day. So that's what we do in the corporate world, if we're serious about the mission of the company and keeping it safe. And here is a little tangent. So around 2016, 2015, 2016, I was doing these war games and at VeriSign, and I had gotten this before at another company, but we came out of them and invariably somebody would be like, dude, usually an executive, dude, that was pretty intense. You should write a novel. And I was like, I'd love to be J.K. Rowling and sit in a coffee shop and write a novel, but I have a day job.
Yeah.
So, but
you have talking about the writing the books and everything, and we can kind of shift gears and start talking about that because
it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah. Do you have any fear of like the AI authors and stuff like that kind of overrunning that industry?
No, I don't even think about it.
Really?
AI authors, you're going to be able to figure that out. That's why I love Wargate, because it's AI free. I don't care how good AI gets. they're not going to be able to sit down like human authors do and go through all the what ifs and say, yes, this is the AI will probably go, this is the most logical way this would go. So I'm going to put those words in that order. Right. But it may not be logic that I'm looking for. It's human. It's a human response. It's a human.
You got to think about it like this too. Like something that's really popular right now that's AI driven in storytelling is those Reddit stories that you see everywhere.
Yep.
Right?
Right.
I don't know if you've seen them, Mark.
I haven't. I don't pay attention to Reddit.
I know. That's why I figured.
I know what you're talking about. You don't only see it on Reddit. You see it. I see it on Facebook.
Well, no, yeah, that's the biggest thing is that's where it was based at, right? Yeah. So these AI generated stories that were being posted to Reddit. Originally they did start as actual humans telling the story, but now, like you said, you can tell that they're being AI generated, right? And so they're being taken off of Reddit and they're being put into video form using AI voice to tell the story.
Okay.
And you can tell in the story that it is being written by fucking AI, right? Like there was a fucking military one that I listened to because I get curious, man. You know what I'm saying? I get real curious about the shit. So I was listening to it and it was talking about how it was a female general at the age of fucking 32 that fucking got, she was top secret, missions, and her brother was a cop that fucking came in and tried to out her for being a fucking fake stolen valor in front of their family. And you sit there and you listen to it, and you're like, this, not only does it not seem real, because stories don't have to be real.
Yeah.
But it's fucking dumb.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's where I think, now, could it get very good 10, 20 years from now?
Probably.
Fuck yeah, right? Because AI is gonna grow. But I don't think writers as of right now are gonna have any worry about AI taking over.
I don't.
Storytelling.
So in a similar vein, and we'll go, the quick rough analogy of what I'm going to say is like the ship of Theseus, right? So what if, or have you seen any publications or publishers or even just authors taking a very broad idea, running it through AI, and then taking that and rebuilding that over and over again until it actually makes sense? So the reason I ask this specifically like this,
okay,
are you guys familiar with the movie Range 15?
Vaguely.
Okay, so
vaguely.
The original script for that movie was bought by JT and the guys who ended up going on to start up Black Rifle. They bought that script from a guy, I can't remember what the fuck his name is. He actually grew up right by where I did, near South Bend. But they bought it, or Rocco, I think it was, bought it from him. And they rewrote that thing like 60 times before they actually turned it into the movie that it became.
Right.
So, I could see a time where somebody takes an early draft of a Sibley book or script or whatever, and then they're like, you know what? I'm going to take this and I'm going to use this more or less as like a wireframe. And I'm going to change names. I'm going to change locations. I'm going to change a couple other things. But overall, I'm going to use this as the structure of what I want to produce.
Right.
Do you see that, even if it's not necessarily bad, potentially, is that like a tool that you might use?
Possibly. I don't, again, I have very little room in my head for AI.
Mm-hmm.
I don't play around with it. I don't think about it, except for the fact that it's getting bigger and smarter. But that stuff, maybe, using AI to flesh something out is something valuable, I think, because companies are doing that right now.
Right.
Right. So I've seen people that would take a month to write a policy, use the company AI bot to do it in 30 seconds because you put the right info in, telling the bot they're a this type of a person. I need a policy on this. Go scrape it and pull it together. And then what you do is you take that AI generated policy or document material and you give it to the real people to wordsmith, to make sure it's right, because then it becomes real, right? Up until that point, it's just an AI wireframe, like you said, right? But it's easier for people to go in as a group and edit and correct and all these things that the AI bot may not have seen or gathered than trying to have one person write it over a month, because that takes a long time, a long time, and then move it out to all these other people to correct a human.
Right.
But if that human just makes the AI do a wireframe and then sends it out to people, I think that's okay.
Okay.
I think that's fine. But taking a work that's already been out there, like Stephen King or Tom Clancy or whatever, and stripping it down in AI and taking parts and rebuilding it to look almost totally different, that's a huge copyright infringement.
So on the basis of that, you know how recently a lot of the old Disney properties have entered a public domain, like Mickey, the old Steamboat Willie, like Winnie the Pooh. So you've seen all these weird, crazy, like indie horror movies where like Mickey Mouse is slaughtering people on tugboats and stuff. At what point, or I guess I should ask, what percentage of an original work being retooled and resold would you consider truly fair use?
Oh man, I don't know, but I mean, I think there's and this I believe strongly in this. Let's have some new material, right? I mean, there's so many remakes, and granted, some.
Oh no! It fell off on remake. So
okay,
did you hear me say that?
Yes.
Okay.
Am I back?
Yep.
So if we're continuing on in the Marvel universe with Age of Ultron 16, and we have zero new material, and we're just doing it because we know it'll make the money, right? I like money too, guys. I'm going to be serious. I write for the little tiny bit of money that I get, but there's so many good authors out there with such great material, and there are just not enough executives or forward thinkers or whatever in the industry to kind of go out and grab them and say, hey, we will, there's some, but we will turn this great novel of this indie author into a Netflix series or a Hollywood studio. And that's for a myriad of reasons. But mostly it's money, because they don't want to take a chance. And yet I see them taking chances on all kinds of things that flop miserably.
Yep. So we had talked to Nick Irving, and actually the clip that the only clip that came of that so far was talking about basically the Hollywood control, Hollywoodification. They wanted him to, in order to adapt one of his books, or the book, or what, I can't remember what it was.
Right.
They wanted for his father-in-law to have cancer and to have died, and that to be like a motivation for him and all this other stuff.
You dropped.
I did?
Yeah.
Oh.
You froze. But you're back.
Hopefully I'm back. So I'll tie it up real quick. So Hollywood wanted him to change part of the story. They wanted his father-in-law to have had cancer and died and all this other stuff. And I was like, that would make the most awkward time on the red carpet when your father-in-law is there with you and people are like, interviewers like, oh, who is this man walking with your wife?
Right.
Oh, that's the dead guy from the story. Like it just, you can't really do that. You can't do that all the time.
Yeah, it's shit like that, man. And like, I think like Mark was saying, everything's fucking just getting remade, bro. And everything's getting, and every time it gets remade, it gets fucking bad. Okay, so we look at like they want to do a TV show series of Harry Potter.
Yep.
Right now, Harry Potter is widely known as probably one of the most popular books of all fucking time.
Right.
Okay. Movies, don't get me wrong, I'm a fan, right? I like the movies. We don't need a reiteration of the fucking Harry Potter movies.
Right.
Okay. And then especially now with like all the fucking the woke shit that's going on, like you take shit like they're gonna make Snape black. Okay. Everything is being changed. Can we talk about how awkward it's gonna be with them making Snape black? That Harry's just gonna sit there and be like, I don't know what the fuck it is about Snape. Like, I know he's a teacher and I know like he's trusted by everybody, but like,
You're getting that.
I don't like that motherfucker. Be like, what?
Why not? Why don't you like it?
Mean? What about it? I don't know what it is.
What? Be specific about
way-
Snape.
So then,
something about that motherfucker, man. The
So the
remakes.
in the same vein, then, right? How do you guys feel about creating parts of the universe of the world that didn't exist in the books? For example, Dark Wolf, that's out currently on Amazon, which is a prequel to what is it? The
Terminalist.
Yeah, Terminalist. How do you feel about that? Because technically it's an original work, but Terminalist had to come first.
Here's the problem. I don't know which one you're talking about specifically. Here's my issue, and this happens everywhere, and it's a 1 in a million when it works. Okay, when you take something that's great, and for it to have a prequel and or a fucking sequel to something, it has to be equally as fucking great.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you have to have the same love for it that you did the first one.
Right.
With the understanding that it's not the fucking first one. Okay. So the problem comes in where they take great fucking things that were made in a time where you didn't have to be politically correct. You didn't have to fucking hold back punches. You didn't have to worry about fucking hurting people's feelings. And they try to take something from that and they try to make a prequel in this day and age where everybody's fucking like just their pussy gets hurt over fucking everything. And that's why I'm always usually against making any type of prequels, making any type of sequels in this day and age without getting back to what it was before.
Right.
We run into these fucking issues to where it's like you get, it's like, oh shit, like I loved that fucking movie, man. I loved that fucking movie when it was this. They're coming out with a prequel, cool. You go watch the fucking prequel and you're like, who wrote this shit? Why the fuck did you write it? You have no idea what the fucking first thing, like what the original was meant to be. And even if it's the same person that's doing it, the same fucking person that made it, they're a different person now because they don't want to fucking get canceled. They don't want to this, they don't want to that. So we run into these fucking issues where you can't even be fucking like, you can't be the unapologetic version of the first movie in a prequel. And it's everywhere. Fucking movies, books, comedy, bro. You see all these motherfuckers, like all these comedians are getting canceled. Do you see Dave Chappelle? Dave Chappelle, one of the best comedians
ever.
Period. I like, he's in my fucking top 5, period. And Dave Chappelle got canceled for doing what the fuck Dave Chappelle has done his entire fucking career. Bro, we watched the Chappelle show. We watched him do so much shit on the Chappelle show. He has talked about everybody, said some of the most heinous shit in the fucking world, right? And we giggled our fat asses off the whole fucking time. And now, in this day and age, he comes out with the same shit he was doing before. And he's canceled because there's a certain fucking group of people he talks about. Fuck all that. This is why I say you have to make something new, and it has to be You have to. My feeling on it is you have to make something new, and it has to be in the spirit of the old. You can't worry about the fucking woke bullshit because that's why everything is dog shit now, bro. You don't go out to the fucking movies and watch a great movie. When's the last time you seen a great movie?
I can. Okay, there's a couple that I do really like that have come out recently.
No, I'm serious. I'm asking, like, which one?
So I liked Dog, that Channing Tatum one. I liked Bullet Train. I liked The Gentleman.
Okay. So look, you got to think about this too now. I'm pretty sure Bullet Train was made by Netflix, wasn't it?
I don't think so. I think it was in theaters. Maybe it wasn't. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure Bullet Train was on Netflix. Like, there are both of those fucking things that you put in there, right? Bullet Train is not politically correct, right?
Yeah, no.
Bullet Train was made in the spirit of what? Older movies that didn't give a fuck about anything. Because don't get me wrong, I liked Bullet Train too. Bullet Train was fucking hilarious to me.
Yep.
Okay. But it's because it's one of those movies where they don't give a fuck. It doesn't matter who is this person, who died first in the fucking movie, this, that. So I guess in a sense, there are certain movies that are coming out, right? I don't go to the theater.
No.
I don't go to the theater. So I wait for shit to fucking come out. I will give you Bullet Train because I feel like Bullet Train was just, it had that feel, man. It had that feel good in it where it was like, man, you can finally just watch the fucking movie and let it play out. You said Bullet Train and what else? What was the second one you said?
The Gentleman.
The Gentleman.
Yeah.
You talking about the one with Matthew McConaughey?
Yep.
Let me tell you something. That movie right there has soared in my fucking movies favorite of all time. I don't know if y'all, Mark, have you seen The Gentleman?
So I saw it once a while ago.
Okay.
And I don't remember, I haven't seen it again. So I have to say that I probably was not overly enthused with it, but maybe I have to watch it again. I don't know.
That's
and
cool.
I only got 10 minutes into Bullet Train before I turned it off. That's just me.
And that's a personal thing, right? That's a personal thing, right? But speaking on The Gentleman, if you haven't watched The fucking Gentleman, I would advise you to watch it once. Here's my thing about The fucking Gentleman and why the movie itself was successful in my eyes. One, the plot to that movie, fucking amazing. Yep. The story in it and how they tell the story is amazing, right? Character placement. Okay. You had people in that fucking movie that were the embodiment of who you thought that character would be. And that's a big thing when you're doing anything, whether it be books, whether it be movies, whether it be shows, they have to make sense. Right? You had fucking Matthew McConaughey, I think Guy Ritchie, you had who the fuck? What's the dude from Sons of Anarchy who played Jax?
Hunnam.
Yeah. Charlie Hunnam.
Yep.
Right. You had, who was the coach? Who played what the fuck is the coach's name?
It's Sean, not Sean. Oh my God. I got into a kick actually, and I watched a bunch of like weird, obscure movies and shows that he did. Watch The Lobster sometimes if you want to like have a real mind fuck.
Anyway, the characters themselves played a huge role.
Yeah.
The dialogue in it, what they said, how they said it, those are all markings of movies from before.
Yeah.
The problem we see now is the new style of fucking movies and remakes that come out. It's so scared. It's so politically fucking correct. It's like you have to follow a certain thing. And that's why I feel like prequels don't ever fucking work in this time, in this day and age, at least.
Go ahead.
I was just going to ask you, Sibley, but if you're going to stay on that topic, I can wait and ask you.
No, go ahead. This is we're here.
So I just wanted to ask if your world or universe, and I'm not specifically saying one book, but if your world or your universe was going to be adapted, what would you prefer? Would you prefer a trilogy of movies, or would you prefer like an HBO, Amazon, where they kind of can get away with more TV series, or would you want like, made for TV, edited TVMA or whatever kind of thing? What would you want it adapted as?
I have a big, I just have a big vision of seeing and hearing, the credits play with certain songs in a theater, right? However, I've been told by many people, and I think I believe this, because it's hard to do that many characters in a movie, right? So a Netflix or Prime or Apple TV, something like that, where it could be, each book could be a season, right? And not to overdo it. I definitely wouldn't want it to be more than it is. And I definitely wouldn't want it to be kind of less, with certain writers. But I think it adapts better to that episodic type thing, right? Because in my head, I can see episodes where they go through most of the neighborhood, and I can see episodes where they're in the space station or Fort Knox, or it transitions in between, things like that.
So my wife prefers TV series for the exact reasons that you just highlighted. I love movies. I do love a lot of shows too, but I love movies because I like a start and an end, and I don't need to wait till every Sunday at 9 p.m. to fucking watch something. If I do, I wait till the whole thing comes out typically. But so in my head, as we've had this conversation, I've had this like mix of like The Office, but not purely humorous. But have you seen Succession?
I know what it is. I have not watched it.
I don't know why, but the style and the flow of that show, and just like, corporate espionage and infighting between family members, and just that whole thing, just in my mind, has the DNA of what the Sibleyverse, that
right.
That's why I was curious.
Yeah, and I actually, and this is weird, but things happen. They're stranger in real world than they are in fiction or whatever. I can see one of the short stories or one of the other authors' novels that's going to come out getting that treatment, and that being not Mongol Moon or Dance of Devils or the third book, which is tentatively Raise the Red. It's going to be something weird, right? Somebody's short story gets seen by somebody, and they go, "Oh my God, I have to do a thing with this and expand it," right? Whatever. The world's just weird, man. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, so if I can ask you another question that kind of falls into that. If you or one of the other authors were approached to adapt something, but not maybe strictly stay in line with the Sibleyverse, would that be something that you guys would consider? Or do you want to keep the stories that you tell salient and true to what you've put together?
It needs to, I think at least, it needs to, it needs to stay true to the intent.
Okay.
Right? Doesn't need to be all the same names. It doesn't need to be all the same characters or the same places. It needs to stay true to the intent.
Okay.
That's what's in my head. Now, I would love to see tanks rolling out of Fort Knox, or them crashing down in Kazakhstan after the space station explodes, or whatever. That's hard to do unless you're going to do a big budget kind of Netflix thing. But the intent is there, and I think you could probably get away with it doing a smaller version of it with a smaller budget. I don't know. I mean, I wrote a lot of it with Firefly Serenity in my head.
Okay.
Right. Especially the second book and some of the short stories, they're pithy.
Would you prefer for special effects specifically, would you prefer like an ILM coming in and kind of doing their thing to your vision, or would you prefer, are you familiar with Corridor Crew by any chance, or Corridor Digital? So they're a YouTube channel. They do VFX and things like that. Their YouTube channels are awesome.
Okay.
They do like a lot of breakdowns. They have people from the industry that they talk to, and they go through and they'll watch, stuntmen or whatever, and they'll talk about how things worked. And so you kind of have this new insight into that industry.
Okay.
But they're more of like the indie studio, right? They take what you want and they put it together. The biggest difference today, like is in now as we're talking, between a big studio and the indie studios is more or less down to how fast they can do something. Do they have a cluster of servers that can render a scene in a second, or do they just have their desktop PC that takes them an hour?
Right. Okay.
So, I mean, like, which one do you think would more align with your vision?
In my head, I always like the indie people better. But it gives them, I think, more options. A big studio will have a lot of bureaucracy in it. And okay, this is the budget. Here's what we're going to do. We have to meet these timeframes because we got all these other things coming up behind us, right? And there's no feeling there, I don't think. But I could be wrong. But you take an indie, like I was an indie, like Wargate is indie-ish, but they're small press, but they're very fast, right? You take those and there's more personalization. There's just more connection to it. So that's what I would do. That's where I feel it going if I had my way. I'm not, if there was going to be an adaptation for the screen, I've toyed with the idea of writing a screenplay, never done it. So I don't know. I think people would rather me not write a screenplay and finish the third book. Right. But
get it together, Mark.
I know, right?
Get the fucking together.
But even if I write a screenplay, where do I send it? I'm sure people will tell me, but then I have to go through that traditional process, which is why I didn't go through or continue the traditional process in publishing, because it's a cluster and you can't get in. Right.
Okay. So now speaking of publishing, Wargate.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Wargate.
They're badass.
Let's start with what is Wargate?
So from what I know, so back in mid last decade, Jason Onspach and Nick Cole started writing Galaxy's Edge. And they were pumping out books, right? And by the fifth book, that was hidden. And they were like, okay, maybe we can do this or do that. I'm not going to put words in their mouth because I don't know the whole picture of this. But they turned that into, Galaxy's Edge and a bookstore just for that. And then they were like, maybe we can have other authors write their stories, or we can do collaborations or whatever. And then they turned that into Wargate, and they have a stable of editors and some other people that do formatting and covers and things like that. And I was in the process of getting my 57th rejection for just an agent, because I was doing the traditional query thing, and nobody wanted Mongol Moon. So I decided, okay, look, I'm just going to publish it myself. And so I did that, and when you do that, you act like a general contractor with all the subs around you, and you got a cover person, a formatting person, a this person, a that person, editors and stuff that you have to pay for. And so I did that, and I published the Mongol Moon OG version in January of 2020. And it took, 3 years and Twitter and other people before Wargate actually reached out to me and said, hey, we like your Twitter. Lo and behold, I was following Jason Onspach and they were following me, and Nick Cole was following, we were following each other. I didn't know what they did. I had never heard of Galaxy's Edge or Wargate or anything. So they reached out and I was like, look, if something sounds too good to be true, it usually is. And I had been burned by some other people in the book world before that. And I was like, nah, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stick with my traditional thing. And then Blaine Pardo, I got another couple of rejections, and Blaine Pardo, who had signed in to Wargate, he's prolific. He writes 2-3 novels a year with his business partner and stuff like that. We were on a call together, and he was like, if you do nothing else, sign with Wargate. And I was like, okay. Maybe I gotta figure this stuff out. And then a week later I decided, and I was like, hey, Blaine, is it really that good? He's like, yes, best company I've ever worked with. They're great guys. Everything's so much faster and so much, there's personal attention and you get paid very, very quickly. But aside from that, everybody's like in a Slack channel, right? And it's just like another job, and everybody's talking to everybody, and we're coordinating, and we're doing this and we're doing that, and it's moving very quickly. And I said, okay, I guess I'll reach back out to Nick and Jason. And he's like, I'm having dinner with Nick tonight on the West Coast. I'll tell him. And an hour later, Nick was in my DMs, and then that rolled, and that was summer of 2023. And by 2024 in February, we had done a whole re-edit of Mongol Moon, even though it had been out there a while. And they had edited my completed draft of A Dance of Devils. And we did pre-orders and merchandise and all that kind of stuff. And it just all kind of dropped on February 20th of 2024. And boom, we were off to the races. And it was awesome because they're so easy to work with. Yeah. I'm either talking to Walt, who is their director of ops. I'm talking to the editors, Lauren primarily, because she's the best editor I've ever had, or Nick, sometimes about other things, but mostly Jason, because I'm just talking to him randomly at times about cover art or this or that, or he has a marketing idea or I do. He's the one that, I came to him like right after we dropped both books at the same time in February last year. And I said, hey, I was thinking about, I really have these voices in my head. I'm going to write some short stories because I never have before. And I want to do that. That kind of link into the third book. And you can either read the third book alone and it's cool, or you can read these alone and they're cool, or you can read them both and magic might happen. And he's like, why don't we try and get some other authors and do an anthology? And I was like, oh, that's great. What's an anthology? I didn't know what anthology. Right. And so I figured that out.
What the fuck is an anthology?
It's a collection of short stories.
Okay.
Have you ever seen the show White Lotus?
I haven't. No.
So I was hoping you guys have seen it because that's what the show is. It's pretty good.
Okay.
There's one, or I guess two characters that exist across all 3 seasons. The one is Stifler's mom. Whatever her real name.
Now I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Oh wow, I just like moved. And then there's another one. This other woman who like came through from the first season, whatever. But yeah, it's I kind of enjoy those. So if that was the format like that it came out in TV, that'd be pretty cool because they are both self-contained but also interconnected with a larger story, and you don't have to. Like you can jump in season 3 and be like, oh, I want to go watch season 1 now because season 3 was really good.
Right. And that's kind of what's in my head is that, you can have a Mongol Moon season 1, but you can pick a couple of stories from the anthology and drop them in there because they're happening at the same time.
Right.
Right. So I had just pitched that to Jason, and in 2 days he was like, why don't we get some authors? I was like, okay, I don't think there'd be any, but in 2 days we had 20 authors.
Wow.
That wanted to write. And I was like, and they were all people that I either already knew, a couple I didn't. And we just started going. And I wrote 5 short stories. Voodoo wrote, this is where the other books started. So Voodoo, if you're aware of him, the German on Twitter that does all the big threads, the historical threads.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So he was writing with Lafayette Lee in their publication 1776 or whatever that thing is. And we started talking because I met him a couple of times in real life. Awesome dude. And he was like, maybe I'll write a short story for you. And I was like, that would be amazing. Do it. And a couple months later, I got a 40,000 word short story from Voodoo. And I was like, dude, it's 3,000 words to 8,000 words. That's a short story. He's like, well, I was a little enthusiastic. I was like, no, but it's great. And he's like, oh, but I calmed down the other 2 short stories I wrote for you. I was like, what?
And they're like 30.
And one was 11,000. The other one was 13,000. So he has both of those 2 in either volume of the anthology. But I talked to Jason. I was like, we need to get Voodoo to fill out this 40,000 word one into a novel because it's amazing. And honestly, it's one of the best stories I've ever read. Whether and you wouldn't even know it was in the Mongol Moon universe. It just happens to be in that world, but it's all in Africa. And so we did that. And then I was like, hey, I got other people that might want to write novels. And I got one guy, Steve Stratton, writing a trilogy. Molly Miller wrote Kill Game, which is just awesome. It's all casino based and Western Mountain based, Mountain West. And then, oh my God, a bunch of others. But Voodoo, Steve Stratton, Molly Miller. Oh, Mike Bennett wrote kind of a not a prequel. It's an alternate timeline of Mongol Moon with the Warlock. That's his character. So he brought the Warlock into it. And then we got 3 other people that are writing, 3 or 4 other authors. So it really just ballooned into this world where everybody wanted to jump in and collaborate. And that's why I'm like, we could do a Mongol Moon and have all these other stories be made into like season openers or interspersed between or spin-offs. Like Voodoo's could be a whole season of just Africa. It's amazing. And I was excited about this because all of these places and stories go where my characters don't. So it's expanding the world because people were always asking me, well, what happens in Europe? What happens in South America and Africa? Well, I don't go there.
Yeah.
Right. But all these other people do. And it's amazing to get all of their perspectives and whatever crazy crap this Twitter thing is that gave me this visibility. I was like, let's get other people into this visible bubble and just promote them and let them write stuff in my world because they've all written other stuff in their own worlds.
Yeah.
And I think that's awesome.
I could see Grimzy being your TikTok J. Jonah Jameson. Angry at Spider-Man all the time.
Who the fuck is who's that? You talking about the news the newspaper owner?
Yeah.
I do have to say really quick that writing the 3rd book and getting to kind of meet on the phone Grimzy and kind of know him and as much as one can on the phone and the trunk tales and he's in the trunk. I had to add Grimzy to my 3rd book because Grimzy needed to go in the trunk.
It's fire. That's fire. You know, he's
in the trunk.
It's the biggest irony ever. Nobody puts Grimzy in the trunk, but I guess Mark Sibley does. So,
well, Grimzy gets let out of the trunk, but then after that, who knows?
Never know.
But it's great, and I was able with that scene, with that chapter, to introduce my large bad guy for the 3rd book. So,
and that's fucking dope, man. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that I talk to Mark outside of just the Twitter space. You know what I'm saying? Me and Mark have had, plenty of fucking conversations. just about possibilities, about things that could fucking
Yes.
happen, about shit that he's doing with the book, shit that I could be doing. Talking to Mark is always dope, because Mark is always he's a positive person that doesn't speak proper, you know what I'm saying, like real like uppity. So it's real easy for me to fucking sit there and have a big conversation with Mark. Mark is the one who actually inspired me to get into what I'm doing now, and it's like doing more of narration shit. So that kind of it lets you know that the more people you fucking talk to, because I'll tell you what, without me getting into the shit that I got into, as far as making these videos and doing this, I would have never met or spoke to Mark in life.
Yeah.
We two completely separate fucking worlds, you know what I'm saying? So you fall into meeting certain people, certain real good people that fucking can only do nothing but, give you good fucking vibes, make you feel like there's real good people in the fucking world, and also help you kind of get to the next level in certain things, man.
Dude, I am constantly floored by you and the other people that do what you do on Twitter or Instagram or whatever. And you put your face out there all the time, every day. And you have this voice. I will just say this, you have this voice, whether everybody likes that process, whether everybody likes my books or not, or movies or not, or whatever, everybody has opinions. And yes, sometimes myself, I need to like sit back and go, hey, I'm really not doing this part well, or people have given me feedback, or maybe Grimzy put together some things for me. And it was, I'll tell you this, I love what he did for me, and I love what other people do for me in their world. I'm horrible at giving feedback, right? I'm starting to as an editor, because being nice doesn't help anybody.
Right.
But Grimzy, I hope we can still continue this, and it's in the back of my mind, and it's on a list I have, and I ping people about once every couple of weeks on it. But that being said, you're right. Without Twitter, I will say this, Twitter is a magical place. I wouldn't have met you guys. I wouldn't have Terry Shepard as my narrator for the main books. And I've finally able to meet him in real life. And there are several, like half a dozen other authors that have DM'd me that are in our corner that I won't go into because they're not done yet, but they just wanted to pick my brain about writing, about how I did it. It's not hard. And I will tell everybody this right now. Whatever passion you're going for, whether it's Grimzy stuff or Drew's stuff, or you want to do video, or you want to do whatever, sit down and do it. Repeat it. Keep doing it. And I will tell this to the writers out there. There are several who have sent me their stuff, and Grimzy's going to send me one he and his wife are doing. And without fail, I'm blown away by some of this writing. One guy has, I've read the first couple of chapters of what he sent me, and I am absolutely blown away by the concept of it. Blown away.
Oh yeah.
And I sent back, I was like, okay, look, the way you structured this is amazing, but you have to put words in it like dialogue. It just can't be all from your inside. Now, it's military and it's futuristic, but put a sergeant in that line and start having him yell at people, and having the soldiers behind him talk about the sergeant behind his back, and start using some cuss words and start doing all this other stuff. Just act like a dude and throw those words in there. Don't worry if it's right, because that's what editing's for, right? And I tell everybody this, sit down and write. It's hard for me to take my own advice sometimes. I'm sorry. Yes. Right. Hold up. But nothing happens with your project, if it's a novel, until you finish the first draft. After that, work starts. We can fix everything, right? Just finish the first one. And then, I can't wait for some of these people to come out of the woodwork and say, hey, I wrote this. And I did this. It's
And you know,
awesome.
that what you said right there is really fucking powerful, right? Because it translates to almost fucking everything, bro.
Everything,
Like,
yes.
I get people that ask me, like, you know, how did you come up with this, or how did this start, or, you know, where do you get, you know, how you talk about this and this and that. I need people to understand, like Mark said, just fucking do it.
Yeah.
You don't know what's gonna work until you do it, right? I have a shirt now that says get in the trunk. Okay. I have people on Twitter constantly tagging me in other people's fucking posts saying, put this guy in the trunk.
Yeah.
Okay.
We need to do something like the guy that does the frog of shame.
Yeah.
We need to do it.
Get in the trunk.
Yeah.
Get in the trunk version. I have people who do that now, and it's mind blowing to me. But it's just because I fucking did it and it caught, right?
Right.
I never had the plan of, oh, hey, I'm gonna say this line, I'm gonna put somebody in the trunk, and then that's gonna be the shtick, and I'm gonna have everybody fucking saying get in the trunk. That never fucking happens. None of that shit ever happens, bro.
No.
You just gotta do it.
One thing
You gotta
that
record, man. Hit the record button, sit down, fucking write, start typing, start doing stuff. You have to just fucking do it. And something comes from that. And if not, you keep fucking doing it. That's the only way you can do it.
One thing that I'll add to that, because this is something that people don't really consider. When you suck at getting something off the ground, like when you're not the expert, you're not the professional, you don't have the tools, you don't have the resources, and you start doing it and people start seeing it and they connect with you because they're like, oh shit, I can just go grab my phone and sit in my car and talk shit about people and post it on wherever, and I'm going to get like just starting with your concept and then improving it after is the same thing as writing the first draft of your book or filming your first podcast episode like my wife and I did with horrific equipment, but it got us started. I found the things that didn't work. I figured out, what equipment I needed to buy because of it. And I have all this shit now. I don't even use all the time.
You think about it. I started with a 30-second video in my room in terrible fucking lighting, fucking iPhone, and I just made a 30-second video, and that's where it started.
Right.
That's where it came from. Now, graduate, mind you, I'm not some big time fucking person, and I don't like that. None of that shit really fucking moves me, and I think that's a big reason of like why I've been able to connect with some of the dopest fucking people I've been able to connect with through this whole journey, is because that type of shit don't really fucking. I don't give a fuck about none of that.
And the consistency matters too.
Consistency is big, right? But you do what you want to do, and you consistently fucking do it. And the people that like you are gonna they're gonna keep watching.
Yeah.
And the people that don't like you are gonna consistently fucking comment, and they're gonna boost you to find more people that do fucking like you, right? I'm sure I got a lot of fucking people that don't like me, and that's cool, because for every motherfucker that don't like me that commented on something that I did, it boosted it to somebody who did like what the fuck I did.
Right.
You gotta just do what the fuck you want to do. Find the concept, do it, man.
Right.
I have a templated reply, and right after this, I want to get into some of the questions that people had on social media. But I have a templated reply for both of the podcasts that says, "Thank you so much for watching and commenting and helping extend the reach of our channel." And then I say, for more links or for our other social media channels, click this link to visit. And that is what I use as my canned response to everybody who, in reality, I want to be like, "Fuck you, you're a piece of shit." I want to, but I can't write that in the comments.
Right. I will tell you this: without Twitter, none of this would have happened. Mongol Moon wouldn't have happened. None of that, because I got to yell out to like 3 people, Wargate aside, right? So the one thing that got Mongol Moon kicked off, right, not the one, but one of the main ones. Joe Dolio, who has written the Tactical Wisdom series and all that stuff, and teaches people how to be better at scouting and survival and all that kind of stuff, right? He read Mongol Moon back like 4 years ago, and he said one night, and he said what I took away from it was that dude tripped over his Yorkie in his house when the lights went out because he didn't have a flashlight in every room. And that was the point I was trying to make. Now, everybody, if you want to read prepper books, there's tons out there. If you want to read political shit, there's tons out there. I wanted the irony of the one prepper in my book to die first, right? He had everything. And he died first because he tripped over a Yorkie, which I had done with Chewy on my stairs, except I tripped up, not down, and I lived. But my dogs still try to kill me every once in a while. And Joe started boosting that and putting flashlights out for everybody. Hey, this is on sale. This is on sale. And then people were like, hey, Sibley, like, what's going on, Sibley? Why is this happening in the world right now? Why is this happening? Did you push a button? Dude, and then that went off. And then Terry Shepard sent out an email or tweeted about Mongol Moon because I just reached out to him through another one of our mutual friends, Airborne Heel. If you don't follow him, he's a great guy on Twitter. He and I have met in real life. He was a paratrooper, and he was like, dude, I'm really disappointed that Fort Bragg and the 82nd Airborne were not in Mongol Moon, and I'm sad, and I will forever be sad. And I was like, dude, okay, well, why don't you be my muse for the Airborne, and I'll put them in the second book. And lo and behold, we have the Red Devils from the 82nd Airborne in the second book, and that's all because of him. That's all because of him, and meeting Terry was all because of him, and the book taking off was primarily getting visibility because Dolio and the flashlight thing. And then it just went from there because this corner of Twitter is freaking amazing. And I wouldn't have met half the people that I know now that I've connected with in writing or editing or storytelling or anything. Just some amazing people. I just wouldn't have met them, and my life would be sad.
You know what I think is funny, and I'll jump into these questions here right after this, but it's just something I want to mention. When I see on Facebook, when somebody from this corner of Twitter is screenshot and shared by some goofy, obscure, whatever account, and then a friend of mine reshares that post, first thing I do is I grab a screenshot. I go back and I'm like, dude, I know that this person doesn't know you. They're not even on X, but I just had to let you know that you organically came up in my feed on Facebook. Because it's like all of a sudden, like the cat's out of the bag. Like your reach is just out there, you know, like
Yeah.
it's out of your control now. And it's never because of something that you predicted or planned. It's always because of the goofiest, weirdest thing.
Right. It absolutely is, because life is so much stranger than fiction.
Yep.
Absolutely.
All right. So jumping into these, I'm gonna try and speed run a little bit so that, you know, we can try and stay around that nice tight little 2 hours.
Nice.
Mark Twain says in your thread,
I know. Yeah, yes.
make fun of Demp too. So
Yeah. Well, that autistic swamp hobbit. I mean, I've broke bread and drank with him twice now in real life, both at Farmageddon's, one in Georgia and one in Louisiana. And aside from being one of the best guys, I mean, is he a little off? He's an oil worker, so yeah. But if I got hurt, there is, like, out in the field, whatever, there is absolutely zero people that I would want to come to my aid other than Dempsey.
I can see that.
So, I mean, I'll yell at him the whole time, and he'll be, you know, flicking ashes from a cigarette on me and whatever. And that's why I did what I did to him in the second book or in the third book.
Why aren't you wearing the black gloves? Why are you wearing the blue gloves?
Oh my God, I've never even heard of black gloves. And yes, that's true. You don't wear black gloves because you can't see blood.
Yep.
Holy crap.
Yep. All right. Barbecue Judge Scott says, how often does Phoebe fart?
Daily. Yeah, daily, multiple times a day. She's fumigated around my desk here. She's right now sitting, looking out one of the side windows from the front door, watching my wife move the sprinkler around, and she's probably farting over there. She farts all the time. And in 21 days, I'm getting a little pug, a little black pug that we're naming Boo Boo or the Darkness, one of the two. And that pug, we've had nothing but terriers, and then we've fostered about 10 dogs that were terriers. But this pug will be our first non-terrier that we own because it's on my bucket list for my life. So I don't know.
That's awesome. Joel.
Oh my God.
When ninth book. So
yeah, you know what? This is funny because with the other authors that I have writing in my world, ninth book is coming pretty soon, actually.
I was just going to say, would you consider the spinoffs to be part of that? Like, if you were to buy like the box set, would you consider the spinoffs to be part of the box set?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because they expand in the world and they make the world better.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Victor Baker Cubed asks, why do you think the cons are not calling out the Dems for this? It's partially obvious they were engaged in it for years now. Actually, this is way too much to read. I don't even know why.
Also, that's political. I don't really get into politics.
Yep.
Because I am one of those people that, while I have opinions, and most people can pretty suss it out,
Yep.
I put zero politics in my novels because I want people to be entertained. I'm not here to get people into my worldview. That's ridiculous for me.
Politics is it's stressful.
It is.
It's very fucking stressful, and it's taxing. And I can speak from experience. It's taxing to fucking sit here and research doom and dread, because that's really what it ends up being most of the time. It's really fucking stressful and takes a lot out of somebody to sit there and fucking talk about politics all day. I do it willingly because it helps a lot of fucking people. But I will say that a lot of people don't, because of how fucking doom and dread it is. So I can respect people who stay away from politics, especially in the body of work that they do, because the shit it's not easy, man.
It's not. It's not, and it's divisive, and we're at a point where it's going to get worse, I think. Now I have my viewpoints, but I'm not gonna sit there and write them in my into my novels. I might use some of that for a bad guy or a good guy or whatever, but you won't know it.
Yep.
Yeah,
I'm just building characters.
That's fair.
All right. The Desert Wanderer. Good morning, Sibley. So are we to assume there's no writing, or there will be no writing accomplished today? My question, do writers who never write qualify for trunk accommodations, Grimzy?
Look, I'm not going in the trunk.
Okay.
But Grimzy's in the trunk. And after that, Drew might be in the trunk. I don't know.
If I'm in the trunk in your book, you are definitely a candidate. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Fuck you. Right. I will say this. If this motherfucker here doesn't get to writing, accommodations can be made. I will give him his own little loft back there and a typewriter.
And for those that this is the first episode that you've ever watched, this is like that. It's like a pocket dimension. It's unlimited space. He can throw as many people in there as he wants.
There's a lot in there.
That I had to. So the actual car is a 1972 Plymouth Fury 3. I drove that car in high school. I had to go mentally put myself in that trunk so that when I put you in the trunk, there would only be so much room. And you were in there quite a while. So until they let you out. And it was quite a process for you to get out because you'd been in there a while. So
Accommodations have changed in my trunk. for
see,
sure. Let's just say that.
it's not the trunk mahal. It's a tiny ass little uncomfortable.
Yeah, no shit.
metal-
Yeah, to answer your
metal
fucking
trunk.
question, absolutely. Accommodations can and will be made for Sibley, most definitely.
There we go. All right. Airborne asks, who is your biggest man crush and why is it Terry?
Well, it's the white pants, and if you met him in person, he smells really good.
Okay, all right. I had a feeling.
I
it
don't
was
even
gonna
know
go
what the
something like
context
that.
is, but that's all the answer that I need.
Okay. I mean, they know.
Joshua says, "Good morning, Sibley.
Good
Press,
morning.
press button."
What?
He says, "Press button," and it's the GIF of Elf doing the Christmas tree.
Oh.
John C. Lucas just says good morning. David
Morning.
Caddy says good morning. Steve Stratton says good morning.
That's Steve. Steve's my bro. He's already got a book in the pipeline, Dances with Arrows.
There we go. Just followed him too at the same time.
Good.
Lopez B says answering questions would be great, but I'll watch the puppies as well, which was the context was in your original tweet.
Nice. Yes, indeed.
And Crypt Opus just says good morning, my friend. So I guess that does all that.
Okay,
Yeah, we got a lot of good mornings. What?
I have a fucking question.
Okay.
Gotta say this one with my chest. Excuse me. Sibley, where the fuck is the fucking book? All right, get off your fucking stay on your ass. Start fucking writing. This is for everybody on there. Where is the fucking book?
Make trunk smaller
Okay.
in that chapter.
All right.
No, seriously.
All right.
Yesterday, I was super rewarded because I got to write and actually plan this out and write a bunch of it yesterday, and it felt so great. And things are speeding up now. The book is on this 10-year-old laptop, and it's backed up to a hard drive that's separate. I almost made that horrible mistake once, but it's on here as well as the start of the fourth book. Go figure. Sometimes you need to just stop what you're doing and write something else to clear your head. Plus, and I will tell this to everybody, thinking is writing.
Okay.
Researching is writing. I have sat on a scene for 6 months before, and it turned out better that way. So just pounding things out, that's not necessarily how I can do it. I have to actually think about things. And I never have writer's block because every time I sit down, I write. I can just, if I don't know how it's going to start, my fingers will start working that for me. I always try and make each chapter the point of view of one character, even though there's so many characters. So yeah, writing has picked back up. I made a very bad mistake with the third book. And that's part of the reason. And I got a little disillusioned. I had to put it down for a little bit. Plus I got a new day job. I went 30,000 words the wrong way because I stopped asking myself, what if? And I had this thing, because I'm very obsessive compulsive OCD. And so I had this thing in my head that I wanted to happen, and I tried to force it. And by the time I realized, no, it really wasn't going to work, that was like almost 30,000 words that I had to kind of rewrite. And that's a third of the book. So, but that being said, that mistake made me start asking big what ifs, and that allowed me to do a bunch of other cool shit. So it worked out for the best, because the book will be done when the book's done. And I don't know when that is. I know what the last scene is, and I know what the first scene of the fourth book is. I just have to get there. That's the way it always works with me. I know what the last scene is. I know who's going to be there.
Absolutely.
Actually, I don't know who's going to be there because this could be.
I respect that so much, and respectfully finish the fucking book.
I know.
That's all.
Nobody wants to hear from me. Nobody wants to hear it.
Listen.
just
I
want the book.
heard a lot of excuses there, buddy. I don't give a fuck.
It's
Finish the
coming.
book. All right. Mark, man, we really appreciate you coming in and having this conversation and dealing with fucking 2 weeks full of
Oh my God, it's my fault. The technical stuff is my fault.
difficulties. We just definitely appreciate you coming in, and brother, you know how me and you get along, man. I appreciate you a lot, bro. I appreciate you a lot, Drew.
That's all I got.
That's all you got.
Yep.
Well,
I love the conversation. This was amazing.
Fucking dope, man.
This
fucking
was amazing.
dope. So, ladies and gentlemen, as we always like to tell you, this is still us trying to get better every single episode. So if you do have some constructive criticism, feel free to drop it. And if you have some hate, eat a dick. I don't really give a fuck about none of that. I want to thank Mark for coming on, my co-host Drew for coming in and setting all this shit up, man. This is the Trunk Tales. And as always, love, peace, and chicken grease. We're going to get out of here.
Peace.
Trunk Tales!